I am so happy with how this looks for the Rangers. We have a pitcher, Jack Leiter, and he is a dude.
And while I do think his hitting is worse than Derek Jeter, it's not that far off.
You're not mentioning 2006. You can mention the other people, not 2006.
Oh, just because I bought the best soap doesn't mean your room's going to be clean. It just leaves it to where I don't believe that the Canadians had a shot.
I really don't like the Clippers just kind of sending it in when they're like...
Hi, this is Kelly Forbes with the Dallas Stars, and you're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our MLB Opinions of the Week. I'm Kevin. I'm joined by the man that... you posed this question, Austin, and I believe it's true. Will the Rockies end up as the worst team ever?
Yeah, it's a good question. I will say it comes off a time where they just swept the Marlins. They had their first sweep in over a year and their first series win of the year, which is a terrible look for the Marlins. But they're still 12-50. And obviously the by far worst team in the league. So the record to beat, Kevin, is let me see. I think it's 49. Is it 49? Is that the worst record?
So the worst record it says is the 1899. But this is with 150 games. Is the Cleveland
162
Spiders.
that most people care about.
162. I'm trying to do the math. So you do have the Mets, which is 40 and 120, the 1962 Mets.
Got it.
And last year it was almost possible with the White Sox just winning 41 games.
Yeah, and to put this in perspective, let's just include every team besides the Cleveland Spiders, who had a 131 percentage and went 20 and 134. The Rockies are at a 194 win percentage, which is significantly lower than even the 1916 Philadelphia A's. So we did just do modern era, which is really just 1900 and on for most people. They would have the worst record in modern baseball.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. And as we look at the records, it's a good amount of the season that's already happened. You're about 50, you're close to 60 games, I want to say, as I look. So I try to do some quick math. Because the Rockies have played 62 games. So that's over. They have less than 100 games left. And in that, they would... Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's 100. Yeah, it's 162. My bad.
Yeah.
So they have 100. So for them to win 30 of the next 100, that would have to be... trying to find out the percentage. They'd have to win 30.
It's 30%.
Yeah, 30%.
Which I don't think they're going to be able to do that.
I don't think so either. Which just goes to, like, we talked about them being bad, but this is historically bad. And I'm trying to think. So if you do 12 divided by 62, that's close to a 20%. If you do 12 divided by 62, that would be 12%. And so if you keep that same pace over those 100 games, you would just win 20, which would put them at 32 wins. 8 below the 62 Mets.
Which is definitely something that is... I mean, they can't even pick in the top 10 this year. I think that baseball's the one league that I don't think should have a lottery for two reasons. First, there's no cap. So I don't think the teams should be punished for being bad. But I think the main reason why there should be one is the fact that just because you draft a guy at 1 doesn't mean he's going to be in a league for a couple of years, right? So it's just setting the Rockies back even further than they should have been. It's just a snowballing effect at this point where, I mean, to this point of the season, they're the worst team of all time, even after sweeping the Marlins. And I think they're going to end up being the worst team in our modern era.
Yeah, I agree. I understand, and it's a good point you make, because even if you get the 1-1, he's not going to be there immediately. Even with the Pirates, Paul Skeens has been fantastic, but they're last in their division and 16 games behind number 1. So it doesn't really hurt. And it was to de-incentivize tanking, because you did see it work with the Astros. However, I don't know if you give the Rockies number 1 that they're going to fix it. I just think it's a management issue. They don't have an idea, which has kind of been our thing. And they have some players, but there's just not enough for them to do it. I really think this organization needs a huge rebuild, not just from the players' standpoint, but from a general manager, and just the entire organization of just how they develop players, how they select players, and who they decide to sign. Because they've gone out and spent money, but it's just in weird ways. Because they spent money on Jurickson Profar, also on Chris Bryant, who I believe is still on the team, but hasn't really performed. I know he was injured a lot last year.
Yeah, he's still hurt. He hasn't played that much this year at all.
So that just, it is just so bad and dysfunctional. Even though they were competitive, maybe it's about 10 years.
No, the last time they made the playoffs, they made the NLDS in 2018. So
Okay.
that's 7 years ago.
7 years.
And they made the
So that
playoffs the year
feels
before
like-
that as well and lost the wild card in 2017. So we'll go 7 years.
So, but yeah, they've just taken a huge turn downhill. And yeah, I do think they're going to be remembered in the history books. So,
For the wrong reasons.
yeah, for the wrong reasons of just how bad they were. And I'm curious what happens. How do they fix it? Or do they just keep getting bad? And could they break their own record or get close to it next year?
Yeah, this really seems like a scenario where there's no light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, it just seems like, and I know I said it a couple of videos ago that I'd rather be the Rockies than the Orioles because at least the Rockies, it's only up from here. But you're really in a really dark spot right now. There is light at the end of every tunnel, but it's just hard to see right now because they are in such a bad spot. Now, like I said in that video, and I still stay into it, you can't, after you get the worst record, I guess you could break your own record, but I don't think they would do it. I find it hard to believe that a team's this bad back-to-back years. So the positive is that this is the lowest it's going to be.
Yes. It would just be historically low, and we could be wrong. So be on the lookout for more of our videos, and we appreciate you listening to Outsiders' Opinions.